Hello everybody and welcome back to the Hilltop Pillbox here in Abbotsford, British Columbia, Canada. And today we're going to be showing you a little bit about low luck. I mentioned something on a Facebook page about low luck and how it takes some of the excitement out of the game, but also tends to be a bit of a nod or a tip of the hat to those who are better strategists than their opponents. And so I've got this fake little battle going on here, and we're going to show you how this works typically in real life. So when I say real life, I mean the way most of us play this game, which is not low luck at all, but everything rolls dice all the time. Okay? So we're going to play, there's a couple artillery, we're playing out-of-box rules. So in the out-of-box rules, the anti-aircraft, just, they fire once. And it doesn't matter how many anti-aircraft you got, and they cannot be destroyed. They get captured if the territory gets captured, so they can't be taken as casualties. So the Germans are coming in here. They got 3 men. They got 2 men with the artillery. They've got 5 tanks and 2 fighters and a bomber. So a pretty typical German attack early in the game. And then here we have a bomber, and we've got 4 artillery, 6 infantry, 3 tanks, and 2 fighters. So the Russians are looking pretty good here. But the Germans have a little bit more higher end stuff, just a touch more. So we're going to see if the anti-aircraft can kick in. And it doesn't. Okay, so it did not shoot anything down. Now I have done this battle 9 times. The Germans have won 7 of them. The Russians have won 2. And the little 1X means that in that battle a plane got shot down and the Germans still won. And then they had this amount of units left. The Russians, on the other hand, won one with only 1 left. They had a fighter left. And here, this was an anomaly. They got 8 hits on the very first round. All right? So things were a little... that's a bit of an anomaly. I think the pattern we see here is that this German attack should win. Okay? So the Germans are going to get 3 dice at 1. These are my hit dice. So they have 1s. The blues are 2s. The greens are 3. The black is 4. So we're going to get those going there. Going there, and then they'll have their 7 green. Whoops! There goes the Russian bomber. Where'd the Russian? Okay, I found the Russian bomber. All right, you don't want to lose those because you don't get many in the game, do you? I should put him right side up. He's not dead yet. All right, so here we go. We've got our 7 green dice, black dice, blue dice. And the white dice, this is all hard to do with one hand, but here we go. Here's the German attack, first round. All right, so we've got 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. We got 7 hits. That's pretty good. That's fairly typical. We usually got between 5 and 7 hits. So it's 1. And don't worry about it being artillery or infantry. So we've got 6 men there. So we'll kill the infantry here. So they go back. So that's the whole German attack. So they've gotten rid of the bomber and the infantry. And now we're going to have the Russians reply, the Soviets. So they're going to have 1 white. They're going to have 3 greens. They're going to have 10 at 2. And then 2 at 4. All right, so this is the Russian response in round 1. If they get up around 6 or 7 hits, then they have a fighting chance here to beat the Germans. If they get less than that, it'll be tougher. Not impossible, but tougher. Okay, well the bomber got a hit. 2, 3. Okay, so I would call that an anomaly, but it is what it is. So the Germans are only losing their 1 dice, and the Russians are losing 7 units there. So it's going to be pretty tough for them to come back. So we're done with all the white dice. They're all gone. The Germans, though, they still have 4 blue. They've got 7 green. They've got 1 black. And this is going to be round 2. So here they go. Here comes the German war machine. And they got 1, 2, 3, 4. So a little softer. But that's going to get rid of the artillery. So we know that the Russians have 4 blue, 2 black, and they've got 3 green. Okay, so they're going to need a really good round here because they're now down to it. Oh, and they had a really good round. Look at that. So it looks like we got 7 hits out of 9 dice. Okay, so those are those anomalies we talk about, but here we go. So there's 2, 4, and we're just going to kill them easy because that's easy to put back, and then 7. Okay, so that really evened things up all of a sudden. If they hadn't gotten 7 there, this one would have probably been over. But let's see what we got left. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4 tanks and a bomber. So 4 green and a black. That's going to be versus 3 green and 2 black. So the Russians right now got themselves an advantage. All right, but the Germans aren't going quietly, so that's going to kill all the Russian armor. And they need a good roll here. And they got one. They got 4 hits. So that's all that armor. So we're down essentially to 1 black versus 2 black dice. So here's the German. Whoops, sorry. Here's the German with a hit, and the Russians with 2 hits. Okay, so the Germans win, or the Russians win, pardon me, and they've got 1 left. Okay, but still, that was really close. And that round that the Russians had, where they got 7 hits in 1 round, that kind of set the tone for the whole thing. All right, there wasn't really much you can do about that. If you're the attacker, you probably would have said, I'm going to do this, I think it'll work, and then that happens. But hey, that's war. So that's regular dice. So that's going to be 7-3 that the Germans will own that. So it's better than a 2-1 average win thing. And now, low luck. Well, let's see how low luck is going to work. Well, let's see the original setup here. So we got 3 infantry for the German, 2 infantry and 2 artillery, 5 armor, 2 fighters, and the lone bomber. So you add up the pips, and the pips are what you need to get a hit. Now, of course, I'm using hit dice, but if we use just a normal die, okay, these are pips, and the bomber here would need 1. So that's 1 pip. Okay, that's the strength of this attack, is 1 pip. Okay, and the strength of these infantry is 3 pips. So their strength is 3 pips total, and the bomber strength is 1 pip total. The infantry here with the artillery, they're each worth 2, so that's 8 pips total. Over here, they're each worth 2, and they've got 10 units, 6 and 4, so that's 20 pips. You can see how this goes. I won't bore you with all the math. At the end of the day, the Germans have 36 pips total, and the Russians have 38 pips total. Okay. Now, what you do then for low luck, like my high-tech stuff? Anyway, what you do with low luck is you add all the pips and divide by 6. So for the Germans, we take 36 and we divide it by 6 because we're playing with a D6 die. All right. If you're playing on a D12 die, so you can roll 5s and 7s and 9s and whatnot and 10s, and okay, you would divide this number by 12 from whatever the things need to hit. Okay. But most people play with the D6. So Germans need to get, or will get, an automatic 6 hits. Now there's nothing left over. So we know that in round 2, the Germans and the Russians are going to lose 6 units. Now the Russians here, they got 38 pips. They're going to divide that by 6 for 6 hits. But there's 2 remainder. So they're going to get 1 roll at a 2 or less. Does that make sense? Okay. So they have 2 remainder after they divide by 6, and now they have a roll at 2 or less. So in these games, I could take a blue die because it's a 2, or I could use a D6, whatever you want to do. So we would do that. And I did that earlier on, and this is what we ended up. They both lost 6 units, so that was round 2. Germans lost 6, the Russians lost 6. So let's remove those 6 units. So the Germans, they lose all their 1s, and they're going to lose these 2 infantry plus 1 artillery. Okay, so they're down to 1 artillery. The Russians lost 6 units as well. So that's 1 of those, and then they're going to lose 5 men. Okay? But nothing else gets hurt, of course. So as we look up here, we see that now there's nothing here for the 1s and nothing here for the 1s. So as my chart says, all 1s on both sides are gone. And on the 2s, we have 1 artillery left at 2 pips, 1 infantry and 4 artillery left at 2 pips each for a total of 10 pips. and the other stuff is untouched. So the total now is we have 27 pips. You're going to divide that by 6. The Germans are going to get 4 hits and have a roll of 3 remaining. The Russians also have 27 pips. Divide by 6. They're going to get 4 hits with 3 remaining. All right, so let's take care of these 4 hits. So the Germans are going to lose 1 artillery, and they're going to lose 1, 2, 3 tanks. Okay. The Russians are losing 4, so they're going to lose 1 infantry and 3 artillery. And when I rolled this out, nobody got another hit. So they both had 3 remainder to roll. Nobody got a hit. I'm going to put that out. So round 3. All the 1s are gone. All the German 2s are gone. But there is 1 artillery remaining for the Russians. 1 lone artillery. So he's worth 2 pips. We have 2 armor and 2 fighters left, because the Germans ended up losing the 3 tanks on the last one. So they're down to 12 pips here, whereas the Russians are down to 9 pips. And then they have the 1 bomber at 4 pips and the 2 fighters at 8 pips. So if we look here, the Germans have 16 pips of damage they're going to do. That is 2 automatic hits and 4 remain. And when I rolled it, they got a hit. So that's going to be 3 total hits on the Russians. The Russians get 3 auto hits, but they've only got 1 remaining, right? Because they had 19 divided by 6 is 3 with 1 left over. So they missed on that 1. So they both got 3 hits on each other once again. And so the Germans lose both tanks. Of course, if they want to keep the territory, they'd lose. At this point, the Germans probably going to retire. But then we go 1, 2, 3. So now we have, in round 4, between the Germans and the Russians, all the 1s are gone. All the 2s are gone. 1 armor remains because they're trying to hang on to it. So I'm going to switch that out. I guess when I was playing it, I was trying to keep it as realistic as possible. And 1 armor remains here, but this is where the balance is off. We have 1 bomber versus 2 fighters. Okay? And there's 7 pips. You get 1 hit, and 1 hit remains. Unfortunately, they didn't roll a 1, so 1 hit only. So the armor is going to get taken. But the Russians have a total of 11 pips. That's 1 hit, and a 5 remains, and they got a hit. So that killed 2 things for the Germans, and the battle is over. Okay, so that's low luck. And what we ended up with was there's still 2 Russian fighters left, and the Germans are destroyed. Now again, previous to this last round, where you just have a bomber and you had to choose your next hit, you'd probably kill that and retreat these guys. Right? You probably wouldn't even keep going, because you know that they're going to have 11 on their next attack, and there's a good chance they're going to kill you. So you'd probably just back off. So you can make those tactical withdrawals knowing that the odds are you're going to lose both these things next time. You're automatically going to lose that, and then there's a 5 out of 6 chance, right, because they still had a 5 remainder, that you're going to lose your expensive bomber. So you're probably just going to skedaddle. Okay? But going into this battle, okay, right from the very start, you can see that the pips were very, very, very equal. The Russians had 2 more pips than the Germans did, and the Russians also had anti-aircraft, which never hit anything really in my low luck attempt. Okay, so that's low luck. That's how that works. So if you can do math really well in your head, and if you can see what your enemy can bring to bear, and if you've got a monster stack of infantry that can soak up a bunch of hits and a few expensive planes like fighters, or maybe a couple of tanks or something that can get you some good hits, then you'll be all right. So 2 tanks, right? If you have 2 tanks at 3, that is a kill. It's an instant kill, right? Because that's 6 pips. 2 tanks at 3 is 6 pips, auto kill. 2 fighters at 4 is an auto kill, and you get to roll at a 2. Maybe you'll get a second kill. All right, so that's how that works. You're guaranteed kills. You got 3 men, that's an auto kill. 3 artillery, auto kill. If you're attacking with 6 infantry, you know you're going to get a kill. And that is low luck. So hopefully that's clear for you. You understand it. And if you have any questions at all, just throw it down in the comments below. There is one other style of low luck that some people play, which I really don't like for myself because it's slow and painful. But they do low luck solely on these. All right, so I'll just show you what that's like, and hopefully you'll agree with me that it's just blech. But yeah, you don't have to. Not everybody agrees with me. That's fine. I can handle it. But essentially, you would do all the ones. So we do the ones, low luck. So we have 3 pips because there's 3 men. Well, we can't get a hit, so all we would do is roll a die, D3 basically, and that would be a hit. So these 3 guys here, these 3 ones, would get 1 hit between all of them. Okay, and then this bomber, it only has a pip of 1, so you would just roll a 1. All right, and then you would do your hit. So they got a hit, so the bomber would be gone, or whatever you would choose to lose. These guys here then, there's 4 at 2, so that's 8, so that's 1 hit, so you know automatically one of them is going to die, and then you would roll a 2. You roll that and miss. Then the Russians here, they've got 20 pips, so that's 3 instant kills, 1, 2, 3, and then they get a roll of 2, and they would miss. They miss that one. Okay, and back and forth it would go up the line. Okay, you can take casualties from wherever you'd like, and they're considered casualties for the round, not instantaneous in this. Okay, so if Russia there gets 3 hits, and for whatever reason the German says, I'm going to lose my fighters, the fighters still get to shoot this round. But after they do the 3s this round, then they'd be gone. Alright, well that's pretty much everything. Hope you enjoyed that. Hope it was informative. And yeah, that's about it. So take care everybody. Hug your loved ones. Play lots. Hey, try low luck on maybe a smaller theater game, like maybe D-Day, or maybe just playing Axis and Allies Europe or something. You can try it on Anniversary. Anniversary is not as big as some of these other monsters, so you could try it. And maybe if you do, leave comments below or throw up your own video about you know, how it went for you, and were you able to use the fact that you know exactly how much damage you can deliver, and moving forward, playing the odds, you can see how much damage you're going to deliver each and every single round. And sometimes using low luck, you can use it to just get into the guy's armor, right? You don't want to take the territory, but you want to kill his tank so he can't take you. And that's where, you know, if you bring in 24 infantry, a big Russian stack, that's an instant 4 kills against his stack of tanks. Now he might get an instant 8 kills, but maybe you can kill 4 armor, and that's worth 8 infantry to you. So financially it works out about the same, but if you can kind of take the wind out of his sails that way, you can certainly utilize that. So that's low luck. I encourage people to try it at least once before you poo-poo it. But once you get the hang of it, and once you understand as you look at things that you can really plan out your campaigns, because you're not going to have any huge surprises, right? The most that you can have, if you play it the way I showed it here, the full, when you do all the rolling at once, or like you do all the hits all at once, if you do it that way, the most surprising thing that can happen to you is having 1 extra hit on the entire round. So you can look at what he's got and say, okay, so he's got 1, he's got 20, so he can hit me for 6. And he might get a 7th, right? And then you can really plan out. So if I lose 6, then you know, okay, well, I'm going to lose those. And then I know that I got 6 on him, so I know that's gone, and maybe all those guys are gone. So I know I've only got to face that, and he can do this and that, and he might have a chance. And you can actually figure out pretty well how the battle's going to go. So much more strategic basis for it. The fog of war is definitely lifted, and yeah, should be a lot of fun. So you folks take care. Again, hug your loved ones, play with your friends, And hey, may those dice be with you.